Oh, what's going on, GameLeapers? This is Coach Eeks, and in today's upload, we'll be talking about the 10 best top laners for patch 12.8, which hit the Rift a couple of days ago, so we'll be using all the data we have from the thousands of matches that have taken place, and this list is taking into account every single elo, so keep that in mind as we make our way through this countdown. And of course, we'll be giving you the builds, the runes, the items, everything you need to know about these champions, and if you do want to master any of these champions, and more importantly, the top lane itself, make sure you click on over to the GameLeap website, which is linked in the description and comment section, so get that exclusive access to our library of content by signing up. We're talking champion courses, guides, high elo VOD analyses that are made by the best players and coaches around the world for your benefit. Guaranteed improvement, so check out those links down below, and let's get into the top lane countdown for 12.8. And starting off at number 10, we have a champion who got buffed in 12.8, which is always exciting, and this is Sejuani. And Sejuani, you're probably thinking, isn't that champion meant to be a jungler? Well, yes, she is, but she's been underrated for the entire season in the top lane, and because in 12.8 you're going to receive your passive and the resistances sooner as the game progresses, this boosts your scaling, which is already really good. So it's going to enhance your mid to late game even further, because with Frostfire Gauntlet, which is giving you even more HP in the mid to late game from your other major items, it makes you incredibly tanky and an amazing crowd controlling champion, which is really important for solo queue, to be honest, because lots of people are probably going to play champions like Yone, Yasuo, Akali, Zed, so it gives your team in most games the setup it will desperately need. Just make sure to run Ignite and TP. You don't really need Flash because you do have your Arctic Assault. Just be sure to save this during the laning phase until your jungler ganks or until you need to escape a gank yourself. So keep that in mind, and Sejuani starts off the countdown. Now ahead of her at number 9, this is another champion who got buffed in 12.8, and I think this one is going to please a lot of you out there, and this is Mordekaiser, who doesn't really feature on these lists because in higher relos he really isn't the best champion, and he still isn't the best champion because you can get kited very easily. But the good news is this is going to be better in 12.8 because of the passive movement speed increase, so you're getting more bonus movement speed at level 6 and level 11, which is really important for the top lane from level 6 onwards, and from level 11 onwards, this might be when you start team fighting. So the movement speed is going to allow you to land more skill shots, get in close range of the enemy champions, and also ult more people, because sometimes accessing the enemy backline, it can be difficult. But do remember, if you are playing Mordekaiser, that you are an amazing scaling champion, so don't worry if you don't get going in the early game. Once you actually access the bonus movement speed buffs from this patch and you start getting Riftmaker, Demonic Embrace in your items, you will become the unstoppable force in the top lane. The only reason Mord is at number 9 is because, like I said, in higher relos he does struggle, and we're trying to take into account in these countdowns the overall success of these champions. But still, an amazing pick, Mordekaiser number 9. But one champion who might destroy Mordekaiser in the top lane, and to be honest, you guys might consider picking him up in 12.8 because Mordekaiser will be picked more, and he does so well anyway against every melee champion, this is Akshan. And it's not a recent development, but one build path that's really going to destroy the enemy top laner is going Kraken Slayer, because this is the tank shredding mythic item, and lots of champions in the top lane will be building HP, even if they aren't a tank. Bruisers have HP in their items, so this is very useful. And then going Lord Dominic's Regards. The reason we want this is for the armor penetration and also the crit. So if you are playing against a champion like a Sion, for instance, who's building Steel Cats with a Sunfire Aegis, or maybe some other tank who's building the same items, this allows you to kill them and side lane against them for the whole game, because without this armor penetration, it can be very difficult after the early laning phase to really have an impact against these champions, because they soak up your damage and you're not the threat you once were. So this is very important. Just make sure to look at the enemy top laners items. And what's interesting on your screens is actually the skill path that players in Master and above have been going in 12.8. So they're putting 1 point in Q, then they're putting 2 in their E, and then max in Q. The reason for this is because when you have Flash and Ignite, in the early game your heroic swing is going to deal more damage than your Q. Your Q is amazing for poke, of course it is, but your E is really the kill threat you have. And in the early game, because tanks aren't tanks and bruisers aren't bruisers, they're very squishy still. So hopefully this will get you snowballing, and pair this with sudden impact in your runes, so the domination tree is your secondary tree. After your heroic swing, you will deal a ton of damage. And you could even consider getting Relentless Hunter or Treasure Hunter instead of Ingenious Hunter if you're going with these items. So Akshan comes in at number 8 on the countdown. Now one champion who might be a little bit scary for Akshan, in fact I know he is, this is Trundle, who is still performing at such a high level in the top lane, and that's all because of how Trundle interacts with lethal tempo. The attack speed you get, your chomp proccing a stack as well. Once you get to max stacks with the extra attack speed, the extra range, honestly he's probably the scariest top laner in a 1v1 in the early game. But what I don't like here is that this page is recommending teleport. To be honest, taking Ignite seems much more viable because you are all about the 1v1. Ever since teleport got nerfed in 12.1, as far as your summoner spells go, you really want 2 combat summoner spells, because nowadays you're more on an island. So if you can't deal with the enemy top laner, there is going to be trouble. And also something to take note of in 12.8 for top lane Trundle is the build. So we're going Essence Reaver with Steel Caps or Merc Treads, depends on the enemy top laner, and then Frostfire Gauntlet followed by Titanic Hydra. Now Essence Reaver, the reason we go this is because of the sheen, which procs off our Q, so it's very important, but also the ability haste and the attack damage. And then following this up with Frostfire Gauntlet for the tankiness and the HP passive, you pair this with Titanic Hydra, so hard to deal with in the side lane. Just make sure to take Demolish in your secondary tree so you can get those towers hella quick, and Trundle is number 7. Now coming in at number 6 is another lethal tempo abuser, this being Rengar. So if Trundle doesn't match your fancy, no worries because you can just lock in Rengar instead. Now for Rengar, thankfully this page is recommending Flash and Ignite for the same reason I just mentioned for Trundle, the 1v1, winning the split push. But what's different between Trundle and Rengar is a bit of the rune page, so we want to be taking Bone Plating with Revitalize. Revitalize is really useful because of our W's heal, which we are going to max second, so Q first, W second, then our E. And as far as the build goes, it's a little different compared to Trundle as well. So your first item you want to be getting an Eclipse. Now why would you want to go Eclipse? It's got lethality, and the enemy top laner is going to be getting lots of armor. So won't this be bad? Well, you're kind of right, but Eclipse's true strength is in its mythic passive, the armor penetration. So once you get to the mid to late game with more of your major items, you will be shredding the tank, just like Akshan with his Lord Dominus Regards and Kraken Slayer setup. Then you want to be getting an Essence Reaver after this, because Sheen will proc off your Q, the cooldown, the crit, the attack damage, it's all very useful. So Rengar, ever since the changes a few patches ago, has really taken off in the top lane. You can still shred towers really quickly, and you're still an incredibly strong 1v1er, so Rango boasts the number 6 position. Now starting off the top 5, this is a champion who I can't recall her not being on this countdown legit because she's been so good for so long, this being Camille. And these stats you can see on your screen are in Master and above, so with Flash and Ignite, not Ignite Teleport, Flash and Ignite, a 60% win rate from over 200 matches, that is pretty nutty. Now taking Flash, you might be like, why would I take Flash? I've got a hook shot. Well, that's the reason why. Combining this with your hook shot, also just Flash ulting someone, I mean that's a reason to take it. There are lots of combos and applications for Flash, especially in League of Legends right now because there's so many champions with mobility, so having more of it is not going to be a bad thing. And it also makes your 1v1 stronger because teleport does really nothing for a fight. But apart from this guys, everything else you see on your screen is pretty much the same. With Grasp the Undying, Shield Bash, Bone Plating, Overgrowth, it's all very standard stuff. And as far as your items go, Divine Sunderer, Ravenous Hydra, and then all of the other items that got buffed in 12.3 for Camille and Bruises. So Death Stance, more Malmortius, and then a Q max into an E into a W max, you're good to go. This champion is still unreal, but she is not as unreal as Wukong, who is boasting the number 4 position, and ever since he got buffed from last patch, so his W sends him over walls, his Q is on a lower cooldown, and because of these changes, look at Wukong go. Flash and Ignite, a 55% win rate in almost 2,000 matches, you're kidding. But just make sure guys you are running Conqueror. I know it might seem obvious, but some people do run lethal tempo, no point. You have attack speed in your E, so you've got plenty of it. So take Conqueror, you probably stack this quicker than anyone as well, and because of your passive with the armor, it puts you on par with Trundle for the strongest early game top laner. And keeping the attack speed from your Nimbus Strike in mind, this is why you want to be getting this at level 1, and at level 2 I know this page is recommending taking your W second, but you can always consider if you do have big kill pressure and the enemy champion is close to you when you hit level 2 to get your Q second. W just acts as another gap closer, so you can use your W, the dash, and then E onto them. You will deal an incredible amount of damage and probably get flashes for free. And just like I mentioned for Camille since 12.3, I know Wukong wasn't really the best champion before he got buffed, but still the changes to Black Cleaver, Death Stance, more Malmortius, these were all so good for Bruiser Wukong in the top lane, so he is number 4. But one champion who is performing better than Wukong across all elos, this is Fiora, coming in at number 3, and for Fiora in 12.8, nothing is changing, which is a good thing. Also since 12.3, just like a lot of the other champions on this countdown, the buffs to Ravenous Hydra, more attack damage, Death Stance, the healing passive, scaling off your bonus AD, and also more Malmortius, the Omnivamp, the extra damage. These items are just too broken on a champion who is not going to slow down at all in 12.8. She's banned a lot, she's picked a lot, and when she is picked, she has very good win rates across the board, so if you want to stick to the 1v1 and win games on your own, Fiora, she is certainly a great pick. Now following Fiora, coming in at number 2 and number 1, they're actually similar champions in the sense that they're great scaling bruisers who do so well in the 1v1 and can win games on their own. So this sounds good already, right? Well, coming in at number 2, this is Jax, who is just Fiora on steroids. Because of the buffs from a couple of patches ago to his base HP and to his W's damage, which is what you're maxing first, how can Jax not be on this countdown? With lethal tempo, the attack speed, this gives you the offensive power you need, and paired with your passive works very nicely. But please guys, make sure you take Flash and Ignite. And we mentioned in a video a few days ago that taking Frozen Heart as one of your core items, so Divine Sundra, Steel Caps or Merc Treads, and then Frozen Heart, you might be like, why on earth would I do this on Jax? Well, the reason is because of the W buff, and when you pair this with lethal tempo, you have enough attacking power. You don't need any more offense. What you need is defense and the ability to cuck the enemy champion. So in the top lane, lots of champions will have attack speed in their kits, whether it be from lethal tempo or from attack speed steroids, maybe like a Wukong E for example. But also think about the enemy team. The AD carry most games is going to be building attack speed. The enemy jungler might like it. Even the enemy mid laner might like it. We don't know. But in most games, attack speed is going to exist. So Frozen Heart for the passive is super useful, but also for the armor and the ability haste. Putting your W on a lower cooldown, I mean all of your cooldowns, it's so valuable, and these are the reasons why Jax is number 2 on the top laners for 12.8, but he's beaten to number 1 by the champion who has boasted this spot for the majority of patches in Season 12, this being Riven. And hopefully you guys are as sick as I am from hearing about Riven. Oh my goodness, this champion, ever since her E got buffs and the 12.3 items getting buffed, she has been non-stop dominating. Win rate's better than anyone, S+ tier on every single stat website. Please, if anyone from the balance team, if your brain is working, which might be a stretch, can we do something maybe about Riven being this broken for so long? Because she's meant to be a high skill ceiling champion. So the point I'm getting at, she's so broken to the point where someone like Kadeem can probably pick her up and win his first game on her. So yeah, I thought I'd have a bit of a rant about Riven, but that is the truth guys. She is the number 1 top laner for another patch. Gore Drinker, Black Cleaver, cooldown boots, Q-max into E-max into a W, you scale like a beast, you're very strong in lane with Flash and Ignite. Just make sure to practice your animation cancels and your comboing. We want to be using our passive as much as possible, but those were the best 10 champions guys for the top lane in 12.8. If you did enjoy the countdown, please remember to leave a like down below, and I will see you in tomorrow's daily Season 12 upload. This has been Coach Peace.